I'm going to expand on a few things I've covered in other videos. Now, first, I'm still looking for an ink pen. I'll probably get a box of cheap pens over at Walmart because I need to go to Walmart and get a couple things. Now, the first thing I want to cover now, if I'm making love to a chick and she's sitting there talking about saying something like, I think I got to 30 degrees Celsius today, I think either she's a bit weird or I'm doing something wrong. Because if she's worried about, or if she's talking about degrees Fahrenheit or degrees Celsius, yeah, I'm doing something wrong. Next thing I want to cover now, the Winnie Roost Judge story. Now, the lady that I was referring to, I forgot her name, was Jana Boomersbach. I guess they knew each other personally, but Jana Boomersbach lives here in the valley. If you do a search on YouTube for Winnie Roost Judge, you'll find I don't know if you'll find her interview because she wrote a couple of books on Winnie Roost Judge also. That would make an interesting movie if somebody wants to make a movie. Somebody wants to do the research and make a movie on Winnie Roost Judge on that story. As far as I know, it's just a book. I don't think anybody's done a movie. They call her the trunk murderess, because she had. I'm sure she had help. Somebody helped her cut up. Once she died, that was an accident, and they've asked her. A number of people that knew her had asked her exactly what happened that night. I'm thinking those three ladies were just so drunk, they didn't know what they were doing. They were just drunk and angry, and they just kind of ended a gun battle where Winnie Woolstead was the winner. Kind of. They said she spent a good chunk of her life in State Mental Hospital. Again, that the lady that had interviewed her and wrote one or two books on Winnie Woolstead was Jana Boomersbach. She's written other books. She's a fairly prolific local writer here. But I said she had held up a key, and she said Winnie Woolstead gave me this key. It was supposed to be, the front door to the state mental asylum. I guess the doctors there said, "Well, look, you're not crazy. If you just," they're apparently, very, very overcrowded, understaffed, and overcrowded. They said, "Look, if you want to walk out of here, you know, you're perfectly welcome to. You're sane enough to live in open society." I don't think anybody would have. These people are gone. That's such a long time ago. That was probably like in the early '70s when the last time she was in a state mental hospital. So these people are gone by now. Last thing I'm going to cover is for that statue down there in Buckeye, the Hobo Joe statue. It's a fiberglass statue, where it currently stands now. Reading, well, Adam the Woo had visited a statue because, as the story presented on the statue itself, it was an art project by someone that was, there was an employee of Disney, of Walt Disney. That's Adam the Woo's interest in it. Now, the story that I remember, there used to be a little free paper here. The story that they had presented in the paper was that it was that there's originally 6 or 8 of these Hobo Joe statues. They were an advertisement for a chain of restaurants called Hobo Joe's, something like that. Um, Originally, like I said, probably back in the '80s or '90s, is a meat company down there had bought Hobo Joe, and apparently for quite a number of months, the city of Buckeye and this meat company went round and around. Is this art or is this a sign? I guess they resolved it because it sat out in front of the meat company for a number of years, and then eventually the local historical society had purchased the sign from the meat company, and they had relocated it to where it currently stands now. And Hobo Joe is out there. Or maybe Hobo Joe was. Maybe both stories are true. That's possible. Both stories are true. That Hobo Joe was like the Bob's Big Boy. I use that because that's a fairly well-known symbol. Out in front of all the Bob's Big Boy restaurants. If you remember, if you're an older old timer like me, you remember when Bob's Big Boy had that big old. He had his hand out there, and there's a big old gas flame coming out of the. There's a few people that remember that. Back in the '70s, they thought it was going to run out of natural gas, and they made him stop it because he was using they were using. Well, they talk about their gas grilled hamburgers. That was the advertisement thing for their gas grilled hamburgers. Um, but anyway, the big I got to go down there. It was in. Well, I've been down there a couple of times. Have the video from Hobo Joe's. When I'm down in Buckeye, I'd probably make a special trip. Both to Cowpuncher and to Hobo Joe statue. If you search on Google Maps, Hobo Joe will come up. All the information on Hobo Joe will come up. So it's fairly well known. It's down in central Buckeye. Anyway, let's keep life exciting and interesting. Love y'all. Ciao.